Yeah, okay, we can begin.
Wel, prynawn da pawb, croeso cynnes iawn. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Clive Wolfendale, and I am the chair of the Comedy Standards Committee. I can confirm that the committee officer has conducted a sound check, not without some challenges, before the start of the meeting, so I assume that everyone can hear me. Please message if you can't. But I think we're good to go now.
Yeah.
Can I welcome everyone to today's meeting, where we are all attending remotely due to continuing circumstances. This part of the meeting is public, so I understand we have a member of the press with us this afternoon, who is very welcome. Thank you for your interest. The meeting will be recorded, other than the exempt items, and will be available for viewing after the meeting. For those viewing the recording, committee members are identified with an asterisk next to the name. If you wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. You can also use the chat facility. Please note that I may not be able to monitor the chat facility during the meeting. So either use the raise hand facility or physically raise your hand, and we'll endeavour to get through everybody as the meeting progresses. All microphones will be muted. If you have indicated your intention to speak, you'll be invited to turn your microphone on. So please be ready to do that, and don't forget the handy spacebar function if you're using a PC. If you leave your device on for any reason, can you please ensure that you are muted and that you turn your video off? Can I remind you that there are exempt items on the agenda today, that you should be the only person able to hear any confidential and exempt items being discussed. So that'll be later in the meeting. Any questions on the preamble?
No, thank you.
Thank you. In that case, we'll move straight into the meeting. Item 1, any apologies today, Sally?
Yeah, apologies received from independent member Hazel Jones.
Thank you. Just under this heading, I understand it's somebody's birthday today who's with us. I won't identify who it is, but whoever it is, very best wishes. Item 2, declarations of interest. Just to remind members that they must declare the nature of their declared personal interests. Anyone, anything to declare this afternoon? Okay, I need to declare an interest in item 11 under the appointment of the independent member of the Standards Committee. So we'll deal with that at that time, but I make that declaration at this point. Item 3 then, any urgent matters. So, Sally, are we aware of any urgent matters needing attention this afternoon?
No urgent matters, Chair.
Thank you. Turn then to item 4, which is the minutes of our last meeting. Are there any issues, amendments, corrections associated with those minutes? No. In that case, could I have a proposer that they be accepted as a proper record? Proposed Delith, seconded, please. Frank, all in favour? Any against? No, thank you. The minutes are approved.
Chair, could I just mention that Llamerfech Town Council isn't listed on that when they meet? Perhaps I could ask the clerk to call you in with our meetings.
Thank you. Perhaps we could remind ourselves of that when we have the item a little later on. I think it's item 6.
Okay.
We'll put that right, but thank you for raising it. Thank you very much. Nothing else on the minutes then? Item 5 then is monitoring officer issues. 3, are there any matters you wish to alert us to this afternoon?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, there are a few things just for your information, really, more than anything else. I attended Abergele Town Council couple of weeks ago, and Councillor Delyth was in attendance as well. Had a really good session with members there in terms of the training on the code of conduct, and it was a good opportunity actually, just to run through a few things. For your information, we had decided, I think, that we will be looking at maybe rolling out a programme post-election next May, and that's still the plan. But obviously, if any clerks out there want us to attend, we're more than happy to attend to give some refresher training at that time, before that time. Yes, I thought it went quite well. We had a good discussion. So yeah, and then on the code generally, the revised guidance has been published. I think it was published in June. And that's up and running now. As we mentioned before, there aren't many changes to the previous one, but yeah, that's the adopted one that the Ombudsman is referring to now in his presentations and publications. And also, we'll be looking at the PEN report, which you will be aware is a review of the ethical standards in Wales. We'll be reporting to Welsh Government within the next few weeks, we believe. Which is good, because if there are any amendments to our standards regime, that needs to be implemented before May. So legislation will need to be put before the Senate at that time. Before that time, so we're waiting for that. So hopefully that will come through within the next couple of weeks. I think I've mentioned before, I'm not expecting any major changes, but we'll wait and see on that one. Just on some housekeeping stuff in terms of democracy and meetings. We are in the process of trying to implement a hybrid meeting solution, and I'm hopeful the next time we meet, we might be able to have some in the chamber and some dialing in. So that will be nice for us, I think. So some of us to meet in person, I think would be good. But we're testing the system as at the moment, and things are going well. But obviously, with this type of system, we need to make sure that it works absolutely fine before we bring it and take it to a wider audience, as it were, within the council. So that will be in the next few weeks. We're looking at that. So if you're looking at or observing any meetings going forward, you might find that some of them might be hybrid. So watch the space on that one. Also, as part of the Local Government and Elections Act, you will be aware that councils' constitutions will need to be amended. There is a model constitution which is being prepared, and we're looking at that in Conwy going forward. So we're looking at maybe changes to our constitution, so that will be of interest specifically to Conwy councillors as well. So that's work in progress. A lot of work to be done with that one, to take into account all the changes that have occurred over the last 18 months. So we're looking at that at the moment. And also, I've discussed with the chair, and unfortunately I didn't have an opportunity to prepare a report for this meeting. But we will be looking that as part of the Local Government Elections Act, there will be an obligation on the Standards Committee to prepare an annual report and so on. But I think it would be good practice for us to be doing that in any event. So we'll be looking at bringing an annual report after May, but which will reflect this year's work, which the Standards Committee have undertaken. So hopefully I'll bring something to our next meeting on that as to the format we wish to adopt and so on. But that's, again, work in progress. And also, before I forget, my deputy is here today, Kerry. For some of you who haven't met Kerry before, Kerry is the authority's deputy monitoring officer. So she contacts clerks and so on, and helps to advise on code matters. So yeah, just to welcome Kerry here, and you might be seeing more of Kerry over the next few months, and she'll be attending the meetings with me. So yeah, that's all I had, Chair.
Diolch, thank you. Anybody any questions? supplementary points on anything Reen's had to say this afternoon?
No, thank you.
No. Well, croeso Kerry. We look forward to working with you. Good news on the hybrid meetings, and I'd certainly personally, as chair, like to adopt a personal attendance as soon as that's feasible. That would be much better, I think. And I welcome the annual report opportunity as well. It's something we've discussed previously, and so I look forward to developing that with you in the next few months. Nothing else on Reen's report then? Let's move on to item 6, which is discussion around the future of the town and community council meetings. Something that we've given some attention to in the past few months and have some subsequent discussions over the summer. An important part of our work, and it's, I think, essential that we support the councils across the county, particularly as they're emerging from the huge challenges that they've faced during the COVID pandemic. So once again, Reen, if you would kindly give us an update on where we've got to, I'd be very grateful.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, Councillor Andrew, it's my fault that Llanfairpwllgwyngyllgogerychwr Town Council is not included. Unfortunately, it was not in the draft that was submitted, but they have responded. So I'll circulate the amended one following the meeting. And I apologise. I can only apologise for that.
We're trying to go to hybrid meetings, but we haven't been able to buy the equipment. Obviously, things like Brexit and everything else is making it extremely difficult to get complicated electronics in. We're trying to buy a system so that we can have a full meeting in hybrid, but we haven't been able to buy it yet. So I don't know when we're changing over.
Thank you, Councillor, and I think that might be a common theme. I think with a lot of town and community councils in terms of just getting the kit in order to fulfil obligations in terms of hybrid.
Very expensive for a small council to buy. I mean, we're looking at about 5,000 for Llanfairpwllgwyngyllgogerychwr. I noticed 3 or 4 of the smaller councils are still doing face-to-face, although Welsh Assembly rules are that they should be virtual for the time being and available ongoing virtual for people that don't feel safe.
Yeah, it's I think you're absolutely right, Councillor. It's although the coronavirus regs themselves have gone since May, they have been replaced by the Local Government Elections Act, which gives the right for councillors to attend virtually. So and that also applies to town and community councils as well. So yes, indeed, it's a difficult time. I think it's difficult to get the right equipment in order to achieve what we all want, really, and that's a challenge, I suspect, for most town and community councils at the moment, as well as local authorities generally, really. But
it's very difficult to get it working properly, to be honest, the virtual equipment. I've been going to meetings. I'm on a lot of charities around the country, and if I'm the only one and there's a room full of people and they try and have microphones, it's nearly impossible. I went to one where passing buses were louder than the people.
I mean, it's an important part, Councillor. Reen, can I make a suggestion that in our work over the next few months, when we're engaging with the councils on a more structured basis, perhaps we could, in our gentle probing of where they're up to, just ask what challenges they're facing in terms of the technology, and see if there is a way in which we can assist. In a more general way. I think that's very important. This is going to be, this is a new way we have to live, and we need a sustainable situation. I hope that might help, Councillor Hinchliffe, if we can do that.
Absolutely, and I think we've learned a lot over the last 6 to 9 months in terms of being able, what are the solutions, and there are different solutions. It doesn't have to be an all singing, all dancing system like we will have in the chamber, in terms of, it's a complicated system which would really cost a fortune for small town and community councils to replicate. but there are the solutions that we can assist with, and we're more than happy to discuss with town and community councils about what options there are. So yeah, more than happy, and we in our deliberations and correspondence with the clerks, and would certainly. But in terms of the report, it sets out there what's the position in terms of meeting, and you'll note the most authorities are still meeting virtually, which is absolutely fine. There's no issue with that. You know, they have a right to do that under the Act, and that's fine. Some are looking at maybe virtual, and some are meeting face to face. You know, bearing in mind the limitations on that in terms of and the health and safety issues which they will be addressing. But this really document is more for us to know when they're meeting and how we then can arrange for our independent members to visit the authorities listed. So I won't go through all of them. You can see that we haven't had responses from everyone, but to be fair, majority have come back, and we have at least now an idea of when they're meeting, how they're meeting, and also what language their meetings are taking place. So that can inform us now going forward as to how we arrange for our independent members to attend. And I think it's quite clear that it's through the clerks who's the point of contact to make the arrangements. Now, I don't want to, you know, it'd be difficult for us to go through this today, but it might be that the independent, I can suggest the independent members on the committee that we have some exchange of emails as to who goes where and when, and if you'd like to have a look at the list there, which ones you feel that, you know, could attend or you'd like to attend. And we can do that outside the meeting, of course, you know, and then report back to this meeting going forward. And I'd ask your guidance on that, committee.
Sorry, thank you, Shereen. You've heard from Shereen then where we've got to, and we now have a list which, with the addition of Llanfairpwllgwyngyllgogerychwyrndrobwllllantysiliogogogoch, is as authoritative as we think we can make it at this stage. We had discussions just as a preface here about the potential for scheduling meetings by independent members across the county, maybe based on perhaps need or request or perception of importance. But it is, I think, you know, it's essential that we get around all these meetings at some point, you know, in a probably a 2-year cycle. So, from the independent point of view, I would welcome as much assistance in scheduling this as we can to make sure that we are hitting the spot. But also, I do encourage colleagues to get involved in this. So far I've found the welcome unequivocal, and the meetings enjoyable and very useful. So now the summer's over, I do urge you to get involved in these. I know the Welsh language format for some of these meetings. Personally, I'd be happy to go to those. With or without anybody else, but let's let's get the list now, and I'll be in touch, Reen, about scheduling this in the next week or so about how we can now move this on. I think Delith wants to come in.
Thank you. Yes, just to say that at Abergele Town Council we are trialling the hybrid meeting tonight. Now then, if we were to have visitors or members of the public, they would have to take a lateral flow test before going into the meeting, and they would have to show it as a negative test. So councillors don't have to. So if we were going as members to visit the councils, I don't know what protocols these councils have in place, so that would need to be checked first.
Important, interesting point, Jelly. Thank you. Rina, are you aware of any guidance on this, or would it have to be an individual dialogue with the clerk?
It would be for each town council to decide how they manage risk in terms of COVID. As you're aware, the regulations have been relaxed, and the size of these town councils means they wouldn't come under the remit of the COVID passport, which has been in the press over the last week or so. But yeah, it would, and that's where, you know, I would suggest that we allocate over the next couple of weeks meetings, you know, tranches of meetings, and then we'll contact clerks to see what their requirements are. And also it depends on what independent members want to do, because they are, I would suspect a large amount of them will be will either be hybrid or virtual. You know, that issue won't raise its head, will it? But unless we want to go there, physically go there. So, but if that's the case with some of these, you see, the smaller community councils, they're face to face. So we'd need to just liaise with the clerks there just to make sure we follow their protocols. You know, obviously we want to adhere to what their requirements are. So yeah, there'll be a bit of toing and froing, I think, to get it arranged.
Can I just come back on that? Sorry, Claire.
Yes, Jelly, of course.
Just to say that you know, most of the town councils, I think, are probably the larger ones, have had their own risk assessments done, and that was highlighted in the risk assessment. But you know, it's a shame for the smaller community councils, the very small ones, which are precept are very, very small. They probably haven't had a risk assessment done anyway. So you know, it's very difficult. You know, monetary wise, you know, it's hard. But you know, if the process can be done, and we can see what we can do.
Yeah. I do anticipate this will be a gradual and learning process over the next few months, and I hope supportive as well, to get all the councils up to speed and functioning optimally. Any other points on? I do anticipate this item featuring regularly now in our meetings with updates and learning that we can share. But for now, any other points on the T&Cs? No, thank you very much. Item 7 then is the members' register of interests. In the material circulated prior to the meeting, you'll have seen some amendments to some members. Are there any questions or queries about that at all? Thank you. In that case, could I have a proposal that those interests are noted? Proposed Andrew, seconded Peter. In favour, please.
Apologies, Chair. Councillor Andrews here as an observer, so he can't propose.
Right, sorry, Andrew. That's okay. So let's just revisit then. Delith, can you substitute Delith for Andrew then, if we can? And once again, all in favour? Thank you. Similarly, item 8 is the register of gifts and hospitality. And again, there are a number of items that have been declared, fairly modest by the look of it. Any questions or queries, anyone? In that case, could we have a proposer that they be noted?
I'll propose it, Chair.
Thank you, Peter. Second, Brenda. In favour? Thank you. So unless there's anything else that I've missed, I think that concludes the public component of the meeting. Sally?
Yeah, we just need to take a vote to agree to go into committee, so to go into the exempt item. So if we just do that first, and then I'll stop the recording.
All right. So this is...
Do I vote for this? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a resolution to go into a closed session under the section 100A, subsection 4 of the Local Government Act. So proposer for that, please. Okay. Delith, seconded Anne. Andrew, I'm not sure. Again, I think we're.
Yeah, it would be better if as
Okay,
a,
I'll leave it. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. So that was Jellythan, I think. Everybody comfortable? In that case,
Yeah, so if you just bear with me, I will stop the recording.
oh, thank you.